And welcome to Action for Animals. You know, for all the positives that animals bring to our lives, there's immense benefit from therapy. That's a special area that we're going to be looking at today. And the benefit that not only is for the victim, but also for the animal. There's a science behind it, and we're going to find out all about the science today as we chat about animal-assisted therapy. And we have our guest today, Philippa Williams. Philippa is the founder of Psychotherapy in Nature and is a trained psychologist and equine facilitated psychotherapist. What's that? Well, we'll find out from Philippa in a bit. Trudy Whitehead is here as well, and Trudy runs the Paws for Breath that we talked about when we featured Ocean Acres a while ago. So we're going to chat with Trudy about that. And Philippa has brought Max, her special therapy dog, and we have certainly been loving up on Max the whole time while we've been waiting to join you. So we'll meet Max in a bit. But before we chat with these ladies, let's join Gail Hunt and Philippa as they set the scene and enlighten us on animal-assisted therapy.
So Philippa, I'm so happy to be with you here on the beach on the West Coast.
It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know you do psychotherapy in nature. And before I came out to meet you today, I felt really drained and I felt really tired.
Yeah.
And I said the last thing I want to do is kind of like be active. But being here, you know, in this environment, with the dogs as well, who are like playing, they're so happy.
Oh,
woo! They're so happy. I can just feel my energy changing. I feel calmer, and also, interestingly enough, I feel more energized.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and I think that's part of why therapy in nature works.
Yeah,
it does energize us, and just connecting to nature. That's innate for us.
Yeah.
Nature is a system in itself, and we're a system, and we're all interconnected. And so,
right.
I guess it's a little bit, some people describe as coming home.
Yeah.
And feeling at home in your body.
Yeah, I'm feeling at home. I'm just feeling very calm and grounded.
Yeah.
You know, the opposite to how I felt earlier.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, so I know that Max is a dog that's kind of like used in therapy as well in your work, and you also do equine therapy, which is with horses.
That's right.
And it's all done in nature.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about what got you started in this?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I was always into horses from really small. In fact, my name means lover of horses.
Okay, beautiful.
And then I was an international dressage rider and trainer.
Right.
But when I left school, I was always really interested in psychology. So I sort of had the equine and business management perspective and the psychology perspectives, and couldn't really decide.
Right.
And I just followed my heart with the horses. But to be honest, in the competitive world, as I'm sure you know, there's a lot of abuse. And so at some point I decided that wasn't for me, and I was going to pursue my other passion, which was psychology.
Okay.
And when I was doing my undergraduate study, we had to do psychology of emotion. And I stumbled across all the research literature for emotion regulation, working with horses. So then I really started looking into it and decided I was going to do the equine facilitated psychotherapy training.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, and I feel blessed and lucky actually because, they are my two passions.
Right, yeah. So how does it work? They're going into the water, look.
Oh, they love it. Yeah, they find it therapeutic too.
So I know that Max is a therapy dog. How does he work with your clients?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Max, none of my dogs, I didn't buy them to do therapy.
No, of course not, no.
And he is, as you would have seen, he's quite excitable and playful. This is their beach, this is where they come for a walk. But the two older dogs I had in the UK who were smaller and quite quiet, they would sit and sort of be stroked and do the therapy, and they died very close to each other because they were so close. So then I was left with Max, and I thought, okay, let's see what happens.
People.
But you know, when you stroke an animal, as I'm sure a lot of people have experienced, whether it's a cat or a dog, something really special happens between us on a neurological level.
We'll continue with this fascinating area of animal-assisted therapy after the break. On Action for Animals, we team up with the animal advocacy group Action for Animals Barbados to enlighten and to inform you on the proper way to care for our animals. You know, we like to say whether they're reptiles or livestock, domestic animals, whatever type of pet you have or animal you have, we just want you to know the best way that you can care for them. And today, we find out another way that animals can help us. How? Well, let's go back to the beach with Gail and Philippa, and we see Max calming Gail.
Come on, I need some calming. That's it.
Good boy.
I need some of your light energy. We can exchange good love and energy together, yeah? Nice love and energy.
There you go. And this is limbic resonance right here. Yeah, so I'm a published author in that field. Particularly around how equine therapy can restructure the brain when you've experienced trauma.
Right.
So horses have the most similar brain to us, or the limbic brain, which is the primal brain that all mammals share, responsible for the fight, flight, freeze, the emotion centre. And after horses and our primates, of course, dogs, and then cats. In that order. Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned cats because Trudy, who's also part of this episode, she does the Ocean Acres Paws for Breath, which is all about being out in nature, practicing yoga, breathing and movement. And the cats all come around, and from what she's talked about, it's the same kind of experience for people. When the cats come around, people start stroking them. It literally creates a physiological change in the body.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So limbic resonance is when two mammals are tuned to each other through empathy.
So this is me and Max at the moment.
Yeah.
So we're doing limbic.
Well, limbic resonance is where you attune to each other through empathy.
Empathy.
But limbic regulation is actually one step further, which is what you've just described with Trudy and the pause for breath.
Okay.
And that's what's happening with you. So Max, it works either way. So Max is really excitable in his nervous system right now. There's a lot of charge there. And you're a bit calmer, and so you're going to level out together.
Nice.
If you were distressed and you came home to your cat or your dog, and the cat's chilled on the sofa, stroking your cat will also regulate your system.
It really does work, because sometimes when I come home from work, I'm absolutely tired, and I'm just like, I can't wait to get in, because I know that when I get in, I'm going to be coming into an oasis of peace.
Aww.
My cats are very chilled. It's only that we've got a kitten at the moment, and she's kind of upset the apple cart.
Okay,
So I need to get her on our vibe.
That's interesting in itself, isn't it? Because even that small kitten is affecting everybody's nervous system. It
really is, all of us. I'm just trying to make everybody happy, so the kitten has got to spend a bit of time on its own.
Yeah.
Otherwise the cat's, like, example, after dinner now, my cats are used to just chilling out and relaxing after dinner, but the kitten wants to play.
Right.
So they're like, really, what's going on, you know? So they have to put her in the bedroom for a bit, and then everybody's calmed down.
Nice.
And once they're kind of fully relaxed, then I let her come out, and she picks up our vibe, so then she just plays by herself.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so interesting too that you talk about sort of maybe coming home from a stressful day at work for a lot of people. And just coming into that environment, again, you're going to get that limbic regulation. And we can do that for each other. So if I suddenly start screaming now, oh my God, there's a fire, I'm going to impact your system. Your nervous system is going to go into fight-flight mode, ready for that danger. And in the same breath, literally, I can impact you through what's called social coherent breathing. I can impact your nervous system through some deep breath work. So we can do it human to human as well as animal to human and vice versa.
Just breathing in deeply and breathing in the sea air.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you know, it's wonderful that we're standing right here, how relaxed you felt. And being connected to nature, you know, we can start to notice what we can see, so all the different beautiful colours and textures around us. So that would be some orientation that we can do for grounding. The sounds that we can hear, so the waves splashing. What we can feel, so the sand or maybe some stones beneath our feet, and the water as well.
Just becoming more aware and more conscious.
Yeah.
So
and you can, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, and you can see now Max, his nervous system is actually really calmed, which is that limbic regulation. Because he was really wild a minute ago.
Yeah, he was like really
And through you sort of stroking him, and an hour of just breath work and calmness has impacted him.
Okay.
So animal therapy really is powerful from the opposite way.
I think I'd love to see it in Barbados. I mean, people are talking about it a little bit more, but we're still at the stage where we're getting people to understand, you know, some people anyway, the importance of dogs in terms of having them integrated in the family rather than just tied up in the yard. You know, because of the things that you say, and also because they're social animals, it's good for their health, it's good for their minds, you know. We like our mind and body to be well. So I think it's the same for dogs as well. They like that too.
I think that's such an important point, isn't it? And, and what you're saying is, and what I've just said, is that we're all mammals.
That's correct.
Right, and so we all share that same part of the brain. So it's not that a dog is any less or a cat is any less. You know, I wouldn't want to be tied up outside just as the dog wouldn't.
Yeah, that's interesting. One of the last things I wanted to ask you was when you talk about, you mentioned trauma and with the horses, what kind of, because we all have different traumas in life, how does animal therapy in general work for people that experience trauma?
So one of the most, it's very complex and there are lots of different angles that we can come at to talk about it all day long, but one of the most basic concepts is that animals are non-verbal. And as humans, we have the capacity to communicate in a non-verbal way. So we have our sort of gut feeling about something, or if you imagine if you live with other people and somebody in the house has just had an argument, if you walk into that room, you can feel that. Okay, so our bodies, you know, hundreds of thousands of years ago, were used as sensing tools for safety even. And we still have that ability, and we have that ability to communicate in that way. But we've complicated things as humans because we now use our verbal capacity and our talking, which then means that we're over-reliant on our cognitive thinking and memory processes. So for me, in my opinion, and a lot of the research shows that, you know, that is also why we are so bogged down in mental health crisis. Right. You know, anxiety, depression, trauma, and so on.
So we live inside of our heads almost.
Yeah, we're over-reliant. So all of this work is about communicating in a non-verbal way, connecting to the breath, connecting to an other without talking. And so that creates the regulation in the body. That creates the mind-body connection. And then more specifically in terms of the trauma question, when we experience trauma, what happens is our body is really clever. It allows us to experience either highly painful emotional or physical pain by taking us out of our body so we don't feel it.
So a sense of detachment.
Exactly, and it's known as dissociation. And after trauma, sometimes we don't ever go back into our body, and we constantly are stuck on the fight-flight mode, in the danger mode, where we're dissociated.
We'll meet our guests after the break. Our topic today is animal-assisted therapy, and if you could actually experience the feeling in the room right now, you would understand just what we mean when we say that this is a beneficial area to everyone who has trauma of some kind, and also perhaps other problems that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and animals can help. We are so chill and zen in here. It is unbelievable. And Max is a really an important reason why. And it's not like he's a chill and zen dog. He's not. He's very curious, very busy, but it seems as though when you connect, that magic happens. And so, Philippa, perhaps I'll start with you. What's the science behind this?
That's a great question. So, as mammals, so humans, dogs, horses, cats, etc., we all share the same part of the brain, which is called the limbic system.
Okay, and that is, I think you briefly mentioned it when you were telling Gail, but what's this limbic system?
So it's the oldest part of the brain, responsible for your fight, flight, freeze. And so we can actually connect to one another through the limbic brain. It's also responsible for the emotion center.
I see. So when I'm petting Max and Max is leaning into that, we are in a sense helping each other.
That's correct. So it doesn't matter which way around it might be of you who's stressed or distressed or whatever the emotion might be. If you're going to stroke Max, you will both level out and calm out, and that's what's known as limbic resonance.
Limbic resonance. I told you there's a science behind this. And Trudy actually was, I don't know, demonstrating to us earlier what she does. Not necessarily with cats, because Max seems to know Trudy very well. Walked over to her, put his head there as if to say, okay, do what you do best. And Trudy started to massage him. So that's your connection then with the animals.
It's quite interesting actually, because I only met Max today, but I love giving animals massages, and that's my whole connection with Ocean Acres. I went because I was under a lot of stress, so I went to calm myself down, and in doing so it led to somebody asking, can I come with you because I'm going through a bad time? And I ended up with a group of people all wanting to come. So I was thinking, what am I going to do with these people? So I do a lot of yoga, and I knew some people who were taught yoga, and that's how Paws for Breath was born. So really it was through the dogs, and we were really just intending to do yoga, but the cats decided to join in. And then it sort of evolved from there, because people found how therapeutic it was to do yoga and mindfulness with the cats joining in. And interestingly, the cat's personality has changed since we started to do it. We've been doing it a year now. The cats were very feral to begin with. They didn't like being stroked or picked up. They were very wary, and now they love it.
Wow.
And I think there's a mutual respect there. And as Philippa was saying, it really calms you down, and you forget all your worries, all your concerns, and you're just very calm, and you leave feeling very happy.
But we always seem to think that cats are very aloof animals, but you're saying that they became a part of it willingly.
That's right. They were aloof to begin with, and now it's incredible the difference in them. They love coming and sitting and cuddle, having a massage.
We saw Karen, how it was almost from head to ear to neck to back, right up to the tip of the tail and back. It was wonderful to watch her.
And it's lovely to see when we're doing the yoga and the cat will come and sit on people, and it's just incredibly therapeutic for everybody, for the animals and the humans as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Philippa, who does this benefit the most? Does it matter if your trauma is you are traumatized, or if you're just going through an emotional event? Who benefits the most?
Anybody. You don't necessarily have to have an issue. What Trudy was just describing now was one step further than limbic resonance, which is limbic regulation. So it's what we call co-regulation. So we can do that amongst human to human. So if I suddenly jump up and start shouting fire, that's going to get your nervous system up in your fight flight.
Right.
Whereas if I start practicing some coherent social support breathing, that's going to do the opposite and calm you. And that's sort of what you're achieving through shared empathy between two mammals, which is what you were talking about originally with Max.
Mindfulness, that was something that I noticed was coming through when you were taking your stroll on the beach. And the beach is a perfect place for that, because as you were talking about, you can sense, the sand in your toes, and you can actually be in the moment. Why is being in the moment so important to our mental well-being?
Yeah, it's a really good question. As humans, we are all able to communicate non-verbally. And we all have what we know as our gut sense, our gut feeling. So we all have that ability, but we've developed language over hundreds of thousands of years, and that makes us over-reliant on our cognitive processes, which my understanding from evidence, sort of research, and also my clinical practice, is where you know, that overuse of and reliance of cognitive processes is where mental health can deteriorate. So being in the moment really allows you to connect to all of your senses and reconnect with your body. So you've got that body-mind connection that you were describing there.
Yeah, I find as humans either like to live a lot in the past or worry about what's happening in the future, and we tend to forget that, you know, this is what we should be focusing on right now, the present.
Yeah.
So living mindfully, something that we're hearing more and more about. What is that though with equine therapy? Why are horses, you know, even more developed when it comes to being therapy animals?
Yeah. And what any animal does to say in terms of mindfulness is going to bring us into the present. Because you quite rightly say, humans are so complex that we get stuck in the past, we think too much about the future, whereas animals are very much in the present. Horses specifically, I mean, there are lots and lots of reasons why it's such powerful work, but they do live in social groups similar to humans. And their limbic brain is just slightly more developed than the dogs. Not developed, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is more similar to humans. So it would go horses in similarity, then dogs, and then cats.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to find out more about this fascinating area of therapy when we come back. Today we're looking at animal-assisted therapy, and we have Philippa Williams with us and Trudy Whitehead, and this fascinating area not only of living mindfully, but, you know, interacting with animals to bring you, I think, peace, and Zen is the word that they like to use nowadays. But I wonder though, what happens when using animals in therapy, you know, the individual is afraid of animals?
Yeah, it's a question that I often get asked, particularly in conferences. And, you know, it's a very valid and important question, because usually when we're afraid, you know, we're in a state of fear, which means that we're already in that fight, flight, freeze mode. So with horses particularly, what that does, because they are prey animals, is that will cause movement, because they go into fight flight, because you've got that limbic resonance that we discussed earlier. They're picking that up because that's how they survive in the wild. So if people have come and, you know, they really want to engage in that type of therapy, what we've got to start doing immediately is starting to regulate their system.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you do that, just briefly?
So we talked a little bit about mindfulness,
Yes.
and through mindfulness we can do some grounding techniques, and very slowly we can start to try and pop the person and the horse together.
Right.
And through again that stroking is going to really restructure the limbic brain and regulate the nervous system.
And dogs, I know that there are many people who are just afraid, petrified actually, of dogs. And the dog picks that up as well.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, dogs, I think they're a lot more domesticated than horses. So they will respond slightly differently. And also just to point out that animal-assisted therapy isn't just about the touching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
What
so,
else is there?
I mean, you mentioned it right at the beginning, that felt sense that we were all experiencing, that beautiful limbic resonance, that calmness. You know, we all shared that.
I can tell that we're going to need more than like half an hour just to discuss this, because let's watch what Max is experiencing now from Trudy, and is thoroughly enjoying that massage. And that's also part of the yoga experience that you have at Ocean Acres, but with the cats.
That's right. I mean, we do, when I say yoga, I like to call it mindful movement, because it's a mindful, it's not trying to twist into different positions. And when you've got a cat, you can do exactly what I'm doing with a cat, and they love it. I mean, they're very sentient beings, and it calms them down, it calms the people down. I've had people coming who've been very traumatised, and they've said it helps them just to forget all their trauma, and just for that hour that they're with us. And they can carry that away to the rest of the day as well.
Living mindfully in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who does this benefit? I asked it before, but who does this help? Is perhaps the way I should have phrased it.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, there's evidence that's been around for decades that shows that animal therapy, not just canine or equine, lowers cortisol levels, so that's the hormone that's responsible for stress.
And big tummies. I'm sorry, bloaty tummies.
So, most people have some sort of element in their stress in their life that they'll experience. Some sort of stress in their life they'll experience at some point. So that's definitely going to be helpful. But particularly people who aren't able to articulate how they're feeling. So that might be because of trauma.
Right.
That might be because somebody's on the spectrum.
That's what I was thinking. There are many children, with autism who are nonverbal. And I could imagine that, helping. As I said, there's so much more that we could talk about when it comes to animal-assisted therapy. But coming up in our credits, you'll see how you can get in contact with Philippa and also Trudy at Ocean Acres. And ladies, thank you so much for taking the time. And Max, he really is precious.
Max isn't listening anymore.
He's not at all listening to anything that's happening today. He's in his own mindful state.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies, and sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Be safe.